Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. Sega 32x. This gives a black screen. It's a common problem with these. I think it's going to be probably just needs cleaning out and reassembling really the flex. I know there's two little flex ribbons that hold or join two of the circuit boards together. You've got one PCB for this. You see this with the cart when it comes into the cart slot here. You've got that PCB there that joins with a PCB that goes on the other sort of 90 degrees offset to that, and the two are joined by two different flex ribbons. It's probably going to be that, hopefully. Looks like it's never been opened. It's hard to tell really. The screw heads there look like they've not been touched before. The black is still, nice black. There's no marks on them. So anyway, it looks like there's those 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws there. Possibly those 2 screws there as well. Not sure yet. So I'll just take this apart. We've had basically, a complete moron has been inside this at some point. I'll just see if I can zoom in a bit here and show you. It's like, first of all, what the fuck is going on here? So this resistor, it's got something it's cut on one side. There's obviously a wire connected to that. Got a dodgy solder in there. You can see that on the sockets connected there. Got a white wire. Sorry, so I can get this on camera. It's not that easy. A white wire trimmed there. A wire trimmed from the board there. An orange wire trimmed from here. And then over here, you can see there's a wire coming off to a blue piece of shit on the board. What the fuck is that? I have got no idea. It looks like a piece of wire that's been squashed completely flat, maybe by the inside of the case. I honestly don't know. Where does it go? Does it go to that point there? I haven't got a clue. And there's another yellow wire sort of here as well. It's chopped. So why? That's my question. Why? Well, I'm pretty sure there were probably 2 or 3 wires in here that are supposed to be there that were, corrections at manufacture, patches, for things that weren't quite right on the board and stuff. Why the hell would someone cut them off? It's just beyond me. I just don't get it. I seriously do not get it. So I'm gonna have to do a bit of research on this to find out from this particular revision where these are supposed to go. What the fuck was going on with this resistor here? Someone clearly did not know what they were doing when they went in here. They've just made a hash of this. Hopefully they've not destroyed anything. Might still be salvageable. I guess only time will tell. It's really starting to annoy me. It's one thing, experimenting with electronics, but if you don't know what you're doing, just trying random shit is never a good idea. You practice what you know, really, and if you don't know, you do some research until you do know. But you can see here's a bit of wire on the board, and I was like, what the fuck is that? Well, it does say FB1, so I'm guessing that's like an ICP, integrated circuit protector, which is the equivalent of a fuse, so it should be a short. And there are a few of them. I can see it on the silk screen there. It says FB5. There's another one there saying FB2. You can see it's virtually my nail there. It's very, 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 very small. So I can check that. But next to that, there's another piece of wire straight across the board there, across C18, which should be a capacitor. That should not be shorted. Someone shorted that out, assuming it's another fuse just like that one there. And it bloody ain't. It's a capacitor. So, top of the board here, you've got another weird resistor. I think that's probably done at manufacture. But yeah, it's no wonder this doesn't work. There's also, can't see it now for the life of me. Can you see here? Down bottom there, another piece of wire trimmed off, a little yellow wire. So I don't hold high hopes of getting this working. Now, this is not a simple, ribbon. Problem with these ribbons here. There's more gone on than meets the eye here. Got another wire missing there. You can see that blue one. Someone's trimmed it off. I just don't get it. Why the hell would you trim all these wires off? Right, bit of an update here. This is a few days later. I've just been on a lunch. It's only taken me about half an hour to do this. I ordered another 32x, tested it, works, torn it down, looked where the wire, these wires are, the wires that were cut off out of the board. and rewired it back up, which I'll show you here. It's in a bit of an ad hoc status at the moment, the way it's the way it's just hanging there. But as you can see, probably barely, there's 2 or 3 wires in the middle there that were missing, yellow wire, blue wire, and obviously they go to the board underneath. The other thing I did, which I'll show you on the other board, it's a bit easier. The person who, I don't know who did that other board, but they are a complete muppet. They really are. I suspect that someone sold that other one on, not this one, sold the other one on, assuming it's faulty, because they swapped the board, they put a new digital board, the bit with the processors and things here, and the RAM. They've swapped that out from another car, put it in theirs, and stuck the crappy one that didn't work or whatever in this one. But the thing that was nagging me in the back of my mind, that was sort of niggling away, was, let's see if I can see it now. Can you see, obviously these wires were all missing. Where the black wire, there's a pair there that have got a white thing and there's a bit of black insulation coverage or sleeving or whatever it is there. But you can see there's a white wire and a black wire. Now the black wire goes to capacitor C18, and some muppet had removed the capacitor and soldered a link straight across it. Now next to it you've got a mark on the board there, I think it says FB5, and I believe that's actually a ferrite bead. But it could be, I might be wrong, you do get what they call integrated circuit protectors in some of these things. And sometimes they're marked F, sometimes they're marked FB, sometimes they're marked ICP or IC1 or something. But anyway, so I'm not really clear because I haven't seen the schematics for this, but FB5, I would assume that's a ferrite bead of perhaps 1 ohm. And it will act like a fuse to a degree, and that might be their intention with this. The current capacity of one of these is pretty low. It's going to be 100 milliamps or 200 milliamps, something like that. It's going to be pretty low. And there's one here, and there's another one there. I think it might be that little tiny one there. But I've measured around and I checked all the other markings where you've got an FB marking on there. There's nothing wrong there. The one where where the white wire goes there, it was just removed. The component was removed, and it was sort of bridged by a bit of wire, and that's fine. That will work. But the capacitor was also bridged with a bit of wire. So some muppet, I think, has either done that accidentally. I don't think so. I think it's been done deliberately, because they've assumed, because it was dead black screen, oh, it's the fuse, it's the ferrite bead, whatever it is, and they've got confused and removed the capacitor and shorted the capacitor out. Now, if that's like, which I think it is, it probably goes from one of the inputs to ground, or from +5 to ground. So you've either got a complete short on the power supply section, or you're grounding one of the outputs of wherever that goes, and it's obviously pretty significant trace, because it links the two boards together. So anyway, after reassembling it all, I'll just show you now. Switch it on. So you get this on the screen. Apologies for the angle. As you can see, it works. Obviously I need to do some thorough testing on this, but this is behaving exactly the same as the other 32x does. So yeah, skip that. It's a bit loud, that might turn that down a little bit. So there we go, nothing wrong with that. That 32x, incidentally, cost me £15. So I guess there was going to be some work involved to fix it, but yeah, I'm really pleased with that, because I can now sell that back on, and obviously I've got a 32x myself, and I've got a lot of games and stuff for this as well. So yeah, pretty sweet. Got a hang there. I've got the feeling that's just the socket that's loose. Right, after a bit of testing and stuff, reassembling, I noticed a few lockups that would freeze, and it wasn't just on the one I've just fixed, it's on the other one as well. So at first I thought it was the game, tried different games and things, and it's doing the same thing. You can leave it running for 10 minutes, it might be alright, and then it'll just lock and just freeze. I started looking at the schematics and things for these, because the capacitor I put on that other one, I wasn't too sure about the size of that. I did find some schematics, and I need a 100 microfarad cap for that C18 that was missing. It's going to be a low ESR cap, so I've ordered a couple of caps and things. I'm also going to replace the 47 microfarad surface mount one on both of the 32Xs. They probably don't need it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Wet electrolytics, where they've got the cam type, they're usually alright, typically, but surface mount ones, it's always worth swapping them out. But anyway, so when I was looking at the schematics, I also looked on the website there. I'll put a link to it, and it was all about the service bulletins that came out from Sega, and one of them specifically states on VA4 board, which is what I've got, what this is here, my Mega Drive, you can get lockups with some 32Xs, and the solution is to remove 2 caps. I can't believe it. It just happens to be my luck, you know, that's why they're both locking up at various random points. Everything else works, you know, the Mega Drive works, it works from Mega CD, it's just 32X, you know, I get these random lockups. So that's one of the caps there, the C100, I think the other one's C78, which is marked there on the board. It's got to be that cap there, the third one out of those 3 SMDs. So I'm just going to remove those now, reassemble and give it a try. Just another useful tip here. I had to. This is the working board on the other one that's still a bit glitchy. I can show you. I'm trying to find where the wire is. See where the blue wire is? That blue wire goes. That trace under there was pretty badly damaged. It was almost hanging on for its dear life after someone had ripped the wires out. And I had to find a replacement place to solder. And if you know what technique I use trying to find vias, or testing where vias come out of, and you can show you this. If you find a via, let's say there, for example, I get this really fine canine wire. I don't know if you can see this. It's, where is it? It's there where the point of my thumb is. But yeah, you know, it'll come through the board. So when you're trying to trace and follow wires and you don't know where they're going, if you use a little bit of wire, really thin mylar wire like this, K&R wire, sorry, I don't know, call it mylar wire, it's like plastic, it's like those made of mylar. K&R wire, just push it through the via, you can see where it goes through to the other side. And I did find a suitable replacement, if I just get it in shot again. Where the blue wire goes now, there's a via, I think it's that one. There, so just to the left of it. So yeah, I ended up putting a piece of wire through there and soldering onto the other side, just to join that up. And the other thing that was missing on my board, it was after a lot of messing around, wondering why my Everdrive wouldn't work. You can see, get on shot, well, that's the resistor soldered to there, that orange wire. It's actually joined to the board, I hadn't realised. So there's a point there where it goes to about pin 6. On the top edge of the cart slot here, 6th from the left, and that was missing, and that gave me a purple screen on the Everdrive. Strange. I think games like Sonic worked and stuff, and I also had some region problems with it, and I don't know what was going on there, but after I fixed that blue wire and fixed that where the orange wire joins the resistor, pretty much all my problems have gone, aside from the fact that this will lock up randomly. So I'm going to replace, I've ordered some caps, I can't get these surface, well, I probably could if I looked, but I don't really want to put surface mounted electrolytics back on there. I'm just going to got some really micro sort of profile 4.7 10 volt electrolytics to go on there. Surface mounted ones tend to dry out, you get the little wet type electrolytics and they don't, so I've ordered a couple of those because there's one of those on each side, and some 100 microfarad caps. I believe the cap that where the orange wire went to on there, that was missing on my, sorry, not the orange one, it's the black one, black wire, that cap is supposed to be C18, it's supposed to be 100 microfarad, which yeah, it's unusually high for that. I wasn't expecting that at all. So same thing with that, I've ordered some electrolytic you know, micro profile ones. I'm guessing the caps on the main board, you know, the top board, not really the logic board, the power supply / IO type board, are probably going to be okay, because they are wet type electrolytic. I'm going to hold off replacing any of those for the moment, see how I get on. But yeah, bear in mind, like I said, this is the totally working board. That's flawless, that board. The other board just hangs after a while. I'll just show you some of the work I've done on this. There's still more to do. I had to cover this up with a bit of insulation tape because, as you'll see, I don't know what's happened with that. Someone's mangled that wire. It was like that when I got it. I guess they've cut it off and resoldered to it or something. So I'll probably just desolder that, strip the end again, solder a fresh blob, and then just put a bit of tape over. And it's important you do that anyway, because as you can see, you know, you've got a bit of bare wire there. There's a metal shielding goes over this. You really don't want your, you know, your plus 5 volt or whatever, shorting to the shielding. I inspected these caps, took these caps off. It's not on quite straight, that soldering leaves a bit to be desired, but to be honest, I can't be bothered with it. I did take that off, checked it's correct, and I tried with just a couple of wet electrolytics, same with the 4.7 on that side there, so, sorry, not 4.7, 47 microfarad caps. It's not those. Put some hot melt glue there over those 3 wires. I left a little bit of dodgy wire that was replacing the ferrite bead there, and as you can see, when they've done this, they've just ripped all the tracks off this. There was next to no track there to solder the this wire to, which is a wire of use, very, very fine wire, and the pad, I kid you not, it's like 1/4 of a millimetre in diameter, so that's going to be tricky. But and there's no cap on there at the moment. I did experiment with a 22 picofarad cap, 190 nanofarad cap, because the way this is working at the moment, it's working, but it locks after random amounts of time depending on what game you play. Star Wars, for example, you can leave it playing for 2 minutes or 3 minutes in the demo and then it'll lock. Afterburner's the same. Space Harrier will lock about 60 seconds into the demo. Virtua Fighter will freeze about 10 seconds into the game, and the demo bit where it shows you players fighting and stuff, pretty much at the same time every time. Almost, not quite. Yeah, so there's still a fault, but anyway, what I was going to say is I've ordered a looked at the schematics, and it's 1 picofarad, that cap. I don't know why, I read somewhere, and someone said, and they might have been referring to the top board, they were saying C18 is 100 microfarad, but there's no way that's 100 microfarad. The pad size, is really, really small, and the schematic says that C18 is 1 picofarad. So, is that why it's locking? I honestly don't know. I mean, obviously, you've got a wire there and it's supposed to go somewhere up onto this top board here. It's anybody's guess as to what that is. I guess I could find out from the schematics what goes to C18. That might shed some light on what's going on here. As you can see, there's that's where I soldered onto pin 6 for the missing track. Can't really see it, but it's just where that resistor is. To the bottom, just sort of straight down below it, there's a trace missing. They ripped that off as well, so I didn't spot it. I honestly didn't spot it. It was only when I started comparing to the other board I realised that the resistor was soldered straight to the board, into straight from the connector there down to a position on the board and then joined to a wire. I need to shorten that yellow wire, it's a bit long at the moment. Got a bit of a blob of hot melt glue there on one of the wires that goes to the third pin from the top right there, which goes underneath somewhere onto this board. Also had another damaged trace there where the blue wire is supposed to go onto, forget where it is now. Turn it this way. You can see there was the trace there was just barely hanging on, and it just came off. It just came straight off. So I was a bit gutted with that. But as I showed earlier, using the wires there, poking a wire through various points, and using a multimeter, I compared. In fact, what I did is I got the other board out, the one that works, and I compared from the pin that was there using continuity on a meter to pins underneath in the proximate area, and I found a point. You can't really see it, it's this tape covering it, and I've protected that wire. I've glued it in one corner, sorry I'm off camera, but glued it in one corner and taped the rest of it down just to hold it in position. But there's a wire that black wire is soldered to there, which is a substitute to the connection point on the other side that was missing. But yeah, the solder on there is not looking too good because I did resolder that chip. I need to go over that again really, and I've resoldered. I went down side of that one, underneath. Side of that, both sides of that, down here, across there, that side. Just anything near the edges really. I've inspected the other pins, and I'm damn sure it's nothing to do with the chip coming off the board there. These quad flat packs. So the question is, what if there's a fault with this? What is it? Is it going to be the electrolytics on the, the top board there? I seriously doubt it. My suspicions, the 1 picofarad I think is a stab in the dark. I don't think that's going to solve it. It's required, so that needs to go back on, and I've ordered one of those anyway. It's only about £1.30 or something. But beyond that, I personally think we're looking at a RAM fault. You've got these 2 RAM chips here, and I haven't followed the schematic to understand whether these which one of these is, because you've got a RAM chip here as well, and the DRAM chips. DRAM chips are notorious for failing over a period of time anyway. I don't know, it's the refresh circuitry, whether they contain capacitor, electrolytic type, cells and things built in. I honestly don't know how that works, but I do know that they go, and when one go, if you've got a board, typical examples of Amiga 500s, you'll have 16 chips on there, and you'll find that like 10, 11, 12, 13 of them will fail all approximately around the same time. You don't just replace one, you end up replacing a whole bunch of them. So could be those, or one of those, and it could be that. I'm not sure which one of those, like say, is the video RAM and which one is used for program. Because there's two of these, I suspect that those are program and linked to these two chips. But then again, if you look at the layout of the board, the processors are here, these Hitachi processors, whatever they are, and if you flip it over, that's the nearest one, so maybe that's shared between the two, and those are potentially video RAM. And if you turn it over, maybe that's the video RAM, video chip. Maybe that's the video chip, I don't know. I don't even know whether there is a dedicated video chip. I'm just, sort of guessing really from looking at it logically. You've got a couple of processors. One of these is going to be sort of a central sort of ASIC for I/O and everything connected to the cards, connected to the RAM, stuff like that. And then I guess you're going to have a video and sound processor. That middle one could be the video sound. That could be everything. It could be video, sound, and everything. I don't know. And that. Got no idea. I could spend more time looking at the schematics, but just at the moment I've had enough of this. I've spent enough lunches this week looking at this, yesterday night and stuff. But yeah, I hope you found that interesting. I'll do an update when I fitted the 1 picofarad cap to this. But the key is with this, it's working. It was completely beyond when I got it, and now it is working. But there are some lockups. One final point, I guess. Could be one of these chips as well. You've got, I think there's a 7400 and a 7474. There might even be another one somewhere. I can't remember. I saw one. Yeah, I think you've got a 7404 or something similar here. Maybe they're glitching. Now those are pretty cheap to replace. I might, if I can get the right size chips, I might have a go at replacing those. It should be pretty straightforward. They're not too difficult to do those. Yeah, and like I say, end game is to try and get some 3 new RAM chips for this, or you certainly investigate, find out which ones are the program RAM, and perhaps replace the program RAM first. One interesting thing with Star Wars, I mentioned the lockup and stuff. The other thing you see in Star Wars is you get the vectors. It uses vectors, or 3D-esque type technology for drawing the text and stuff. You get the text scrolling up the screen, the galaxy far, far away sort of stuff. You get some of the letters just every now and again. You'll see just for one frame, a split second, just literally one frame, you'll see the vector, whatever, to one letter shoot somewhere off screen or up, way to the side or down or whatever, almost like it's it's miscoordinated or miscalculated the text position just on one letter. So that happens a little bit. Sometimes it can happen more than other times, and then as the game starts, you see the same sort of thing on the ships and things. You just see the odd polygon that's stretched in a slightly skew F angle. Is that the processor? Is one of these processors glitching? Or again, like I say, is it the RAM? Is there an intermittent problem with the RAM? Or is it that cap? Honestly, don't know. Anyway, time will tell. I'll do an update video as I've said. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.